Most athletes think that strength means lifting heavier, lifting more weights. And as masters athletes, normally when we think about lifting, building strength in decisive, like frequent reps, we think about going to the gym. We think about a membership. But I'm here to tell you that's wrong. We can't just limit reps and strength to the gym. In fact, we need to incorporate it into your cardiovascular training. If you're a masters athlete, you can't just do work by picking things up and putting them down. You can actually bring that same mindset, that same framework to your aerobic capacity, particularly in the winter, to reap better gains and better results for yourself long-term, not just for your endurance background and for your endurance aspirations, but also just your long-term health as well. Every rep is a set for your heart, not just for your biceps, your glutes, or whatever else you're working on, those sexy delts you have, my friend. Winter doesn't have to be a slog sitting on the trainer, grinding away in zone 2. Let's get to it. My name is Patrick McCran. I'm the head coach here at Endurance Nation, and every year we launch our OutSeason program to thousands of athletes who've been partaking in it since 2009. This program was designed specifically for masters athletes who are limited not by in energy, not by desire, not by focus, but they're limited by their actual time they have the capacity to train. In other words, real life is the majority of your real life. And while you want to be an endurance athlete, you're not going to be on the front cover of Outside magazine anytime soon. At least speaking for myself, I don't want to put you into a box, so you go be your best endurance self. But really, when it comes down to it, our capacity to do work is sustained not only by the time that we can put in to work hard, but the time that we can recover from it as well. And that balance between work and recovery is actually framed really well when we think a lot about intervals. And this is something that comes down to it when we think about it from the gym perspective, to think about it more. Like when we think about strength in particular, for people who are 40, 50, 60, you, me, my master's friends, we think about this, it's not just about like lifting more weight. This isn't time for, one rep max at the top of your game, right? But it is time to focus, and actually repetitions can actually do that, right? With weightlifting, you get that precision. You can go to the machine, you can take the Smith machine and adjust it the way you want specifically to do your glutes. You can go over to the bands and be like, I'm going to target this one particular muscle, really want to work on like this part of my tricep. We get really sort of laser tactic when we think about our weights. But we don't think the same way about our cardiovascular work. Instead, we just think, I'm going to go in zone 2, which is like a huge range. It could be 10 to 12 beats, 15 beats worth of work. We can say, I'm going to go in zone 3, zone 4. And sometimes those zones overlap. It's not as clear cut. It's just going up to the rack and picking up another set of dumbbells or throwing on another plate. But there is a way, my friends, where you can actually get the specificity that you have in the weight room and bring it to bear on your training and see better benefits. And why do we want to do it in the winter? Like, why specifically now? Why not do this during the regular year? You can, don't get me wrong. But I bring it up now in the wintertime because most athletes default to this. I'm just going to put down a towel. I'm going to put on the football game, and I'm going to pedal in zone 1. Every time somebody scores a touchdown, I'm going to pedal really hard for 30 seconds. I'm going to change my towel, and then I'm going to repeat that for another 45 minutes. God help you if you're like a Jets fan and you're just stuck there training the whole time and no sprinting for those touchdowns. But regardless, you could maybe modify it and do a hard session for a beer commercial maybe at a commercial break. But in reality, that type of work isn't actually advancing you, simply because as a master's athlete, we're not putting in the amount of time at that dose, at that level of work to see the results that we want. Instead, we just kind of get halfway there. It's like knowing that you're going to have to practice the violin for 10 years, for 10 hours a day until you get great, but you do it for like 1 hour a day. And you're like, I'll get there one day. No, you're not going to get there, my friend. Like, there is no violin lottery. There is no endurance lottery. You're not going to miraculously be better by doing 1/10 of the dose that the professionals are, with whom you're following their training plan or following the latest article, podcast, or guidance. So that's what we do inside the winter, actually, is we take advantage of the constraints we have around weather. Temperatures outside are terrible, around daylight hours, which are so short, it's almost hard to imagine how bad it's going to be in a few weeks. I didn't want to think about it. And then last but not least, we turn that limited training time into maximal recovery time. Now, why does it matter now in the winter? Well, because in the summertime, when it's great weather and we're doing 2-a-days and we're peaking for a race, our season is full of volume. It's full of extra work. The time between workouts is sometimes 8 hours, like a work day, morning and afternoon. That's not enough time to recover from high quality work, especially with the long sessions you're doing on the weekend. So how do we get to the point where we actually get to do some intensity in season? How do we peak? The answer is you really can't peak on those traditional programs, which is why we do a fair amount of work in the wintertime, when we can do a hard session on a Tuesday morning and not have to train again until Wednesday afternoon, letting ourselves almost 36 hours of recovery time. You're practically a brand new person. You're practically reborn to go out there and do another training session, a luxury compared to what a regular daily life is as endurance athletes, right? But the physiology matters too. I want to talk about some key things here. Truth is, studies have shown that you can get, I'm going to quote this, 90% of the benefit of the aerobic training in half the time. And when time is scarce, like that's everything that we need, right? So let's talk about what's really at stake here. It's not just about raising a number, getting a threshold from 190 back up to 205 or 210 or whatever it may be for you. It's about power and hormones, right? As we age, our peak power output declines, and our testosterone for men out there really dips. Like we start to fall into a bad spot. And when we just engage in like low level aerobic training at low doses, we're not really getting the stimulus that's going to allow us to keep that peak power output up or to force the production of hormones, keep our bodies healthy through the muscle mass that we're recruiting through our fast twitch muscles and slow twitch muscles as we do this type of hard work, right? So when you recruit those fast twitch fibers, you're improving your neuromuscular sharpness, you're triggering natural spikes in hormone, testosterone, the same type of things that keep you lean, they keep you strong, and they keep you motivated. Like it's like a superpower, my friends. And it comes from doing high quality work. Do high quality work, get high quality results, right? They also just keep you in the zone. Like intervals for me are actually super fun because it actually helps you prevent the plateau that comes with the aerobic training. The plateau being, I'm going to get on the bike for like 2 hours tomorrow, and then the next day I'm going to get on it for 2.5 hours, and next week this time I'll get on it for 3 hours, and the only delta you're making is just adjusting more time. Does it work? Sure it does. If you're willing to get that up to like 7-8 hours, if that's your jam. It's not my jam. I got to tell you that. 8 hours in a week for most weeks is enough time for me. So instead, we use intervals as a tool for us to build the requisite strength we need to get stronger, reap the gains of doing that type of work that we gain from a cardiovascular perspective that trickle down to slow twitch work and improve your aerobic capacity, but also allow you to get off the bike and get down to your regular scheduled life, which is super important, right? So you can play a game where you can do 4x8 this week, and next week you can do 4x8 again. So maybe this week you did 4x8 at 90%, but next week you do the 4x8 and you're at like 95%. You made a 5% gain. That's awesome. The next week you do 4x8 and you're like 97%. Now we're up 7% over that first one. That's amazing. The fourth week, maybe you're at 99%. Damn, we're up 10% in 4 weeks and this high quality interval based on that type of work. It's the same set. I'm not saying that every set inside the Endurance Station is the same in the winter, by far from it. But you get the context of we get better. Just like on the gym, you go and you go to bench 135, you get like 8 reps. Next week you come back, you get 10 reps. Next week you come back, you get 12 reps, and you say, I'm getting stronger, right? You can see it. Intervals allow us to do that same amount of work for you in a very focused and deliberate way. That actually becomes fun. It's kind of like a game. You're kind of testing yourself. Like, oh, last time, first interval, this is my power, this is my heart rate, it's my cadence. Like, let me track those numbers and move it. So each rep becomes like a target, like to get after, right? As opposed to just like keep going until I'm so tired I can't keep going, and then I get off and then have some Coke and then I get on and keep going. You can actually get into it, like really dialing in your training, which is highly motivational. It also allows you to compare yourself percentage-wise to your peers. And my number based on my size, age, and aerobic capacity and time training is very different than your number. But we can look at power to weight. Right? We can play that game, right? Or we can see peak power output. We can have 5-second power, 10-second power, 30-second power. We can start having some fun games and actually find areas where you do naturally excel. We can turn that into a strength for you. Versus when we're playing a game when everybody just rides zone 1 for 4 hours. There's no excelling. There's no competition there. It's really just sort of like who lasts longest. It's like a Mr. Beast game, with the idea being the winner gets this endurance prize, but almost everybody loses because they just break down. They're so tired, they're so exhausted, and it just kills them, like hormonally, energy-wise, and motivation-wise. This is exactly why we built the OutSeason. So we're actually trying to take advantage of the work that we know that this intensity brings in terms of value to your body, to your system, and we also know how much fun it can be when you get to it. So what does it look like across the course of an OutSeason program? Our 14 weeks are broken down into 3 different phases, where we actually work through 4 weeks of work and 1 week of testing. We do that twice. And the last week is 3 weeks of work and 1 week of testing. We know that as you mature through the weeks and as you're older as an athlete, you can't just keep going 4-1, 4-1. We're going to take you 3-1 at the end. And we modulate the different types of intensity from threshold to VO2 as you progress through those weeks, predominantly on the bike, taking advantage of like seated hard work to actually increase the gains that we want. We keep the run frequency and durability. Only our healthiest runners or run focused only people will really get into run intervals, but you'll still do some cross training if I have anything to say about it. The goal here now is this: you can actually get 2 good sessions in during the week here in the winter. You can do intensity in the morning and in the afternoon. You can do your strength work. You can do some flexibility. We can do some mobility work. We actually turn on active recovery as a mechanism. So you can go for a 3-mile walk in the afternoon. It's durability, it's strength that keeps you healthy, huge benefits to your overall health outcome. It doesn't have to be hard work that stresses your aerobic system in preparation for a 10-hour day. Because we're not doing 10-hour days right now in the wintertime. We're building strength, we're building recovery, we're building mobility, and we're building durability. All of those things are key components to help you be successful over the course of a year. What we build now, my friends, is going to carry you not just from the first 3.5 months of your season here in the wintertime, but it's also going to trickle down into the rest of your year as you start building. You have this mental toughness now. You're not afraid of staring at intervals and doing hard work. You have this resilience. You've built like a consistent engine that's easy to repeat, that never overstresses you, that prevents you from getting sick because you're well balanced, that allows you to still have fun on the weekend. Like in the wintertime, you want to take the weekend off and go cross-country ski or go for a hike or something different, knock yourself out. If you're getting Monday through Friday done, I am over the moon. And you are far ahead of your competitors in terms of what everyone else is going through. So I'll definitely include some things on the Endurance Nation blog. If you go to endurancenation.us/blog, and the article there, I've got some citations for you. You can dive in more deeply to understand a little bit more about mitochondria, what happens to you from a hormonal perspective by doing intensity, and understand a little bit more about the relevance of peak power output to your overall, not just longevity, but your capacity for doing work over the rest of your year. Most people are obsessed about longevity, thinking about extending the time. This is your personal finish line, extending it out 5 more years, 10 years, etc. I'm not interested in that. Like, I'm trying to maximize the time I have now to do lots of cool shit, have a ton of fun, do epic stuff. And so I'm extending my aerobic timeline now by being really smart and intentional about the work that I do. And athletes here inside Endurance Nation have been doing this since 2009. We built an incredible program that helps athletes move through this process with intentionality, with support, and with coaching to make sure that you're walking the right path. If you've just spent your winters messing around, just doing aerobic stuff and being like, this is going to pay off one day, I sure hope it. By all means, don't let me get in the way of you doing something that you're just really comfortable doing. However, if you want to be better next year, if you want to actually try something different, see if you can get different results. If you think that maybe there's something to this data that says like high intensity work can actually help you build your overall aerobic capacity, that you can layer on volume on top of that new aerobic capacity when we move in season, when the weather's nice, because you don't really feel like doing a 4-hour trainer ride right now. I'd much rather do a 90-minute one and then go outside and have some fun in snow, or just in the outdoor weather and that fresh air. Only so much time in the basement, my friends, that can be good for you. And if you've been in my basement, without a doubt, it's probably not so healthy at all. It's a miracle I'm still here, given what's downside in that basement. Don't ask my wife; she'll tell you that I gotta clean it up. I don't want to know about it. Anyway, this is me, Patrick McCran, signing off. If you want to learn more about this protocol and how it works, I encourage you to go. I'll put the link in here as well. Go check out our OutSeason blueprint. I think it's at endurancenation.us/blueprint. Go to the blueprint and actually read it for yourself. It's 30+ pages. I've broken it all down for you. Lays out exactly what it is you need to do in the wintertime to be successful. You don't have to just buy our OutSeason program, which is, of course, on pre-sale. You can just get the free blueprint and actually read through it and make the changes to your training program, actually apply some of this to reap those rewards, right? Our goal here is, we believe a rising tide lifts all boats. Even if we're not coaching you or supporting you, if you're getting stronger, you're competing against one of our athletes, and that's going to make them work harder and get stronger. Together, we have a kick-ass winter. We have super fun. We get strong. We emerge from this like more mobile, more durable. We're ready to kick ass next year. Look out. So our younger age groups, we're not holding back. 2026 is the year. Take care, everyone. I'll see you later in another episode.